was like I have to do this. To like pretty early on, I said I was going to be a professional rugby player, and I think everyone that said I wasn't going to along the way was fuel for that, and so it just became more and more of a necessity to reach that target. And I just basically did everything else that everyone else my age wasn't doing until I made a New Zealand team or a rep team, and then found out that they were all doing the same things that I was doing to get where we all had got to. So yeah, that was sort of like the catalyst for it all, bro.
Yep. And like when you say like they were all doing the same sort of things, bro, like how did you sort of realize that, and what were those things?
So I'd go into like say a New Zealand camp, say for New Zealand under-16s or secondary schools, and I was by myself doing sprints in the summer while everyone else was going on summer holiday. I was doing 5 a.m. trainings and then going to do my holiday school job and then doing weights in the afternoon, and then when I get to those camps, I found out that they were all doing exactly the same and some and more. But within my environment and where I was at, no one was doing it. And that sort of separated me from the field.
Yeah, mad. Yep, that's fucking cool, man. Bro, I'll send you a message after. I'd be mad to get on another podcast. That's cool. Fuck, man, that's so cool. And like, maybe just a little bit more is like when and I know you seen the joke the other day. Like I was asking you, like, what would you ask Richie McCaw? And you're like, oh, how did I burn him off all that time? How did I burn him off the back at 8 every time? Like, what as an athlete, bro, like helped you, I guess, prepare or get into that, be part of that environment, I guess, like as a professional, like what do you think looking back on it now? Maybe not so much like what you did, but just generally how you thought about that, like being in that environment.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an ego side to it. Even though I may not have even been aware of that. But yeah, getting to that environment, and once I was there, I became very frustrated because the things that got me to that environment were no longer, I guess, serving me once I was in that professional and where everyone else was doing the things that I was doing. And it was there was another level required for me to stay as a professional, and I guess all the attributes that an athlete needs to be, most of all, consistent, not performing like a beast every single day.
Yeah, cool. And like, was that a realization where maybe like what got you there won't get you to the next stage type thing?
Yeah, unfortunately, in retrospect, it was after maturing quite a lot more, especially around emotional, I guess, maturity and dealing with challenges and I guess setbacks. I wasn't able to shift from, I guess, a failure or a learning and get on to addressing that. I would sort of dwell in that instead of moving on to the next task. And that's what I saw later on, what a lot of the guys who just stayed in the game for a lot longer, even with injury and that, they were able to, I guess, probably reflect on what they had set out and gone back to task really quickly.
Yeah, cool. Yep. If you had to go back and sort of say something to you now, what would you say?
If I was to keep it really simple, move on, because that mistakes is going to set you up for better.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was real cool. I said that to my mate this morning. I was like, Michael Jordan only won 6 championships out of 20 years.
Yeah.
Being great, I don't think it's not about winning every game. It's about being okay with failing. It seems to be anyway. Seems to be cool. Awesome. Thank you, bro. Cool. All right, guys. So I'm going to kick into this presentation now. And today's presentation is called The Alchemy of Greatness, I believe. Yeah, The Alchemy of World Class. And so, as I said before, this is a presentation that I did 12 months ago. Jesse was on this call. I believe I did it for another crew. So I'm going to revisit it. So the alchemy of world class is about becoming world class at anything in 12 months. And why I asked everyone to write down, and I might just share personally, like why I asked everyone to write down what world class means to you is often when I look at world class, I realize I'm nowhere near it in terms of certain things. And so, like, I looked at the likes of it, I think just, investing in Dane and sort of, making that biggest investment in myself and then realizing, fuck, well, if we're investing that, we better take this seriously. Realizing that, like, with my content, we haven't been doing it at a world-class level like other world-class people are. Our presentations, our organization, everything just needs to go up another level. And then, like, I even look at Dan Martell, what he's done since he's been in Australia. I think yesterday he was on 4 podcasts. He did 2 book signings, plus he also presented. This is probably his holiday, and I'm sure he's having a holiday, don't get me wrong, but like he's sort of made a commitment to build one of the biggest personal brands in the world, and that's what he's doing. And like, even for our event tomorrow, like, we were hesitant, and Jess and I have sort of said this, is like, in the past events, we didn't get in like videographers and stuff like that. We're like, oh shit, that's quite expensive. And I was like, no, let's get it. Like, the event we're running tomorrow, I think we've sold 25 tickets, which is really cool. 80% of the people we don't know, which is sick. Like, it's even better. But it's going to cost us about $1,000. Like, we don't make any money from it, but that's not the point. Like, the goal is the brand, and the goal is, we were like, how can we get around high performers in our area? You know what I mean? And it's like, what I sort of realized, and this is something I don't know why I've gone away from for so long, is like, we have all the breathwork tools, we have all the mindset and state shifting sort of tools that are so powerful to a lot of people, and a lot of people want it. I think I got diluted in regards to, like, some of the people that use it, they're just a bit fake and all that sort of stuff, and I was just like, oh, just like, fuck these guys, to be honest. But then I realized, like, that's my own fault, because we have these gifts and these tools that are like extremely powerful for certain people that are ready for it. And so I also realized, generally, if you're going to go to a breath or an ice bath event, like, your priorities of health are pretty high, are very, very high. And everybody whinges about not having good clients, but it's like, well, where do good clients go? If their priority of health is very high, they're going to breath and ice bath events. Why not just run those sorts of events? And the cool thing about it tomorrow, like, actually fucking one of my friends that I grew up with is it's really wild. Like, this guy who's going to do the videography for us, he did the videography for Bedros Keuilian when he came to the event. I went to school with this guy, and the last time I'd seen him before last year, like, I was fucking blind drunk sitting in his in his sleep out at like 16, 17 years old. We're like friends and stuff like that, just fucking drunk as shit, not knowing where the fuck life's going. And then, now we're doing some cool shit. So he's coming to film and videography for us tomorrow. Cost us about $400 or $500, but like, ultimately, to get some crisp, sharp, really good quality from a world-class videographer, like, what's that worth to us? Probably worth a lot more than we're going to spend on this event, just purely from the perception. And so our goal, and this is what we're working on with Dane, is the perception of a premium brand, because we have premium tools, we have a premium program, everything we do is like, it is very, very good. So it's like, what's the perception? And it's like, does it look like I'm a sheep shearer from Temuka who's, fucking down the pub, or does it look like someone who's got a premium brand? And so that's why we're investing in it. So I just wanted to circle back to that, because when you actually define world class, and people are like, oh, I'm world class, I'm the best in the world. But if you hold yourself to the standard of world class, you may not get it straight away, but eventually you will, because it will raise you up. And it's that old sort of saying of like, shoot for the moon, you end up in the stars, that sort of thing. So just wanted to sort of touch on that, because it's so important, and we can all raise a level. We just we're just not taking it seriously, and we're just sort of saying, hey, good is good enough, but let's all go to a world class. So coming back to the presentation, alchemy of world class, how to be world class at anything in 12 months. I can't remember what I wrote on this, but I'm sure it's okay. So a confession, but first a confession. So world class, what does it mean when someone says world class? Someone or something world class is one of the best that there are of that type in the world. A world class athlete, performance, related work. I don't know what's going on there. Respect. World class is anything that is like literally in the top. It's not that like we've put something together, slapped it out, and it's okay. It's literally like one of my friends said to me yesterday about or this morning about a weightlifter, and she's like, I just don't know how that's possible. And it was like, it was a world record snatch of 180 kilos. I was like, yesterday it wasn't possible. Today it is. So world class is literally aiming to be the very, very best. And one of the things I think in terms of that is very important is actually respecting the goal, because anyone can say they want to be the best of the best, world class, break world records, be the world's best coach, this sort of stuff, have a 20, 30, 40, 50K, 80K a month business, but you really have to respect the goal. And the first step to achieving your goal is to take a moment and actually know what it means to achieve it. And my first experience was this, and it's cool that Ez is on this call, because my first experience with this was when I failed a burpee world record. And I remember about a month before I went and trained with Ez, and he put me through probably still a workout that I believe has like scarred me from conditioning ever since. But I realized like how much I'd left on the table because I didn't go and get a coach who was world class. Like if I had trained with Ez that whole time, like fuck, who knows? I probably could have. Like hindsight's a great thing, but I just didn't respect the goal. I didn't realize I was trying to be the best in the world at something. And I thought, hey, I can just wing this and I'll show up and get it done. When if I had done what world-class people do and go and got a coach, planned it out properly, not left it up to myself to make it happen, then I probably would have been world-class. So that's the first one in any goal is like, if you do set a goal, just respect it. And when you respect it, you're more likely to do the work that's required. So first part of this is I want you to define your world-class. So step number one, what would light you up if you were considered world class at? Okay, so write on a piece of paper, what would light you up if you're world class at it? And this doesn't have to be body transformations. This might be getting kids fucking like centered, focused into sports. It might be handstand push-ups. It might be creating the best MMA guys in the world. It might be just world class at growing your business. It can be a goal that serves self. It doesn't have to be an external goal. You might be like, I just want to become world class at ads in the next 12 months because I know that that's going to give me the business that I want so that I can have the freedom for my kids, and all of that sort of stuff. So what would light you up to be world class at? Okay. Step number one. Prob comp prep. Yeah, fucking mad. Yeah, mad. Yeah, 100%. It's comp prep is wild. Like, there's so many layers to it. And to be world class at it is 100% an art. 100%. Yep, very cool. Feel free to share in the chat. Might be events. Carl wants to be the queen of comp prep. I can see you doing that, bro. For a nice little sash and a nice little FMG Pro. Getting people first reps elite. Yep. At your movements. Yep. Love that. Other than producing world-class fighter, marketing, sales. Frank and Fine. Yep. Yep. Love it. Jono. Sick. Cool. Yep, very cool. I love that Chris said marketing and sales, because it's quite often there are a lot of people who are world class that you never hear of. Okay, so that is cool. All right, sick. So part two, and this is something I also like. If I was to sit at your funeral, okay, what would you like people to say you did at the funeral of your career? So if we're sitting down and theirs is like 20 years from now, I give up coaching, or like I've done what I said I would do with coaching or his business or his life, what would we say at your funeral? What would people say about the impact you've had, how you did it, how you became the corporate queen, how you transformed these CEOs? What would they say about it? What would they say about how you did it, why you did it, the impact it had? Yep, that dude was a savage. Would they say things like, because of that person, I believe in myself, gave me the skills and confidence to live my best life? Yep. Did it for the people. That chick had world-class glutes and delts. Yep. Natty vegan veins. Yeah. Mad. Yep. Fucking oats. Imagine that. Imagine like watching like, what is it, Olympia one day, and your athlete walks out as number one. It's just a slight variation of obsession. It's just a slight difference. All right. So next part. What is the new standard you want to set? And I want you to think about, and this is important in terms of positioning, and this is why I believe most people fail as an online coach or, as some sort of digital marketer, is what they all do is they try to do. I want you to think about whatever you want to be world class at. What's the current standard? Cool. You've got people like James Smith who are like, hey, look, be normal. Just be average. Don't worry about cutting calories and shit like that. Like pretty much all they say is like, be average. That's their standard. Like they're literally telling you, and that's why they have such reach, is because most people want to be average, and when you look at the concept, a really, really good book, if you guys want to read it, is Zag. Okay. And so when you look at marketing or branding in general, is like you've got company that are around. So let's take James Smith. He's basically a giant piece of paper, millions of followers, blankets the industry. He says calorie deficit is all that matters. Okay. Every other coach comes in and tries to say exactly the same thing because they're like, oh, James Smith has blown up. He's the biggest in the industry. I'll just go and copy him. Why doesn't that work? Is because one, James Smith has a couple million followers. He's been around for nearly a decade and he has fucking way more authority than everybody else. But where we can take this is we can cut into it. Okay, we can cut off little pieces of that, but we have to be intentional with what is the new standard we're going to set. Okay, so in terms of, let's say, Shana Lee wanting to be the best corporate coach in Australia or in the world, what would the standard you would need to set for yourself, for your onboarding, for your coaching, for your athletes? What would be that set measurable standards of improvement every single week? Yeah, cool. Yeah, you might need to get world class at actually being able to influence people to stick to a plan. You might need to get better at marketing and sales so that you can get more people to actually run through the program. What are the new standards that you're going to set? Jesse's could be like, I'm going to redefine female strength standards. I'm going to make the new normal that every woman can do 20 chin-ups. Yep. Yep. Cool. Christopher might be like, I'm going to make city kickboxing look like fucking the shittest gym in the world. Yeah. Cool. And you have to, and I love that Iz said that a little bit. He's like, you have to have a little bit of ego, is like, any greatness requires that little bit of like, no, I am the best in the world. I can be the best in the world. And you have to have that, because if you're just like, oh, I'm just going to be good at this, it doesn't work. But, as you mature and as you grow, you realize like you can't be arrogant and foolish about it. It's like, you still got to do the work, Cool. How's everyone tracking? Let me know when you're ready to go to the next point. What are the standards that you will now set or work towards setting as world class? And as we're doing this, guys, I want to say is like everybody underestimates what you can get done in a year, but underestimates what you can do in a decade. How many people get frustrated because you haven't achieved your wildest dreams yet? Yeah. We'd all love it to happen in 12 weeks. Imagine if you could wave a wand, like everybody in the world is like any goal you ever had, oh, it happens in 30 days. Everyone would be fucking in, no matter what it is. We all say it in the fitness industry, oh, transformation takes more than 30 days. But what if we could do the same in your business? A lot of people expect that, you know, and a lot of people are like, oh, fucking blow up overnight. And it can happen, but it's like, it's just uncommon. So next point, guys, is why are you not world class now? Why are you not world class now? On a piece of paper beside what you've written, why are you not world class now? I like that, Carl. Carl, can you explain?
Well, if we looked at the first 3 points that you're talking about, and you know, if I may use Jesse as an example, the man's got a record in the world in handstands, right? So yeah, passion, blowing up. The man is an advocate of what he does, and you know, again, and shout out to Shana Lee as well, the Queen, the vegan, like it resonates with them and who they are and their identity. Where most people get in their own head and go, you know, oh, why is Shana Lee doing so well? Why can't I have what she is? It's like, well, you're not Shana Lee, Carl. Like, stop trying to be Shana Lee, because Shana Lee will always be better, because you know, you're all amazing here, right? But because that gets in the way, we forget about ourselves, and so we get in our own way. I'd say another thing would be, Dill, is that the shout out to you is you're like, everyone write it down, because there's so much information out here. Like where Ollie and I are right now, we've got like 12 transformation testimonials up here. We've got 3 lights. There's so much information we input and we delete, distort and generalize it to the point that it seems too easy. And again, we stay here, but by writing it on paper, we clear it out. And so it allows us to, you know, with everyone, the 3 things here is like, we've now got a map. And so it's like, just follow and know that you can do it and achieve it. Because, you know, again, Jesse, and I think 6 months ago, I did a podcast with Jesse. And he's like, I'm getting a fucking world record. And I'm like, oh, so should I release this episode in 6 months? He's like, fuck yeah, that'd be great. And guess what?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and it's probably another word for it would be delusional that you will achieve it. You know, back yourself. And if you're also delusional, you don't get offended by people saying, oh, you're a shit cunt. You're like, I can't even spell that word, so okay.
Carl, that day you went and showed me where you're building your gym. There's a story with and this is why, bro, when I was standing there, I could see exactly what you were telling me. And I was like, okay, let's fucking go. And so there's a story about Walt Disney, and he's standing with a friend in the cornfield. And he said to his friend, can you see that? And his friend goes, what? He goes, oh, there's a space castle there. He's like, mate, you're fucking fucked. I don't know if that was exactly the story, but along those lines. Anyway, there is now a space castle there. It's Disneyland. Okay? He built Disneyland. He said you have to soar it before you see it. You have to soar it, future tense, before you see it. And it's like that day, and Carl sort of got angry at me at one point because he told me this vision and he thought I sort of, I guess, disregarded it. But I was like, bro, I fucking see that. Like, I see it crystal clear.
What you call it a fucking gym. It's a health mecca. Mate, it is the world's first health mecca to change lives and fucking get rid of the misinformation. It's a fucking gym. Fuck you. It's a mecca.
No. Yeah, and that, I love it. And that's the passion you've got to have. And like Carl just said, you got to be delusional. You got to be delusional, because if you go and create a gym, what are you creating? The same thing as the fucking other 40,000 gyms that are around. And this is why gyms don't succeed. It's like, oh, it's just another gym. It's just another personal trainer. It's just another online program. If you're the same, well, you're fucked. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And if I may, one thing thanks for sending me Dan Martell's private event, because I went there and he literally walked into a room and he goes, who's in the elite program? 5 people's hands went up. He goes, who here's achieved what they wanted? And one person's hand up. We had Andrew Simmons, the owner of Vision, like big player. He wasn't. Dan's like, why aren't you like, dude? You've got like 400 fucking PT studios. Why don't you feel fulfilled? And he literally just unpacked it. And Dan goes, you have a limiting belief, and you're still negotiating with your 5 non-negotiables. He's like, the last 365 days, have you done them? He's like, oh, he goes, that's why you keep making a mistake, because you can't do the simple.
Yep. Dan is fucking, he is elite. Yeah, and it is very, very cool. That's awesome to hear. Yeah, cool. Getting back on track. So that question, guys, why haven't you achieved it? Okay, that's a scary question at times, and if you really ask it, it's something that will come back with a bit of a mirror. And like it's a choice after that, whether once you know what it is, it's like, well, you have a choice. You can keep not achieving it, or you can step into whatever's stopping you. So next part here, impact. What? And this is a thing from Brendan Burchard. Okay, so anytime we want to achieve something or have more necessity around it, we have to ask, who is impacted or who benefits from us achieving this? And so on that same piece of paper, what impact does being world-class have? What does it give you both intrinsically and intrinsically? So what does it give you from a money, influence, personal, and self-fulfillment and purpose? So you being world-class, what does it do to your bank account? What does it do to your level of influence? Jesse's a perfect example. Gets a world handstand push-up. No one said no to him in a sales process. Literally, no one has said no. He's like, I'm the best in the world at this shit. Join my program. Why wouldn't you? If that's your goal, Jesse's the best in the world. It's grown his business. Cool. What sort of impact? Who in your family, who around you benefits? And this is literally like, I'm still struggling how to articulate this, but this is why I've sort of compacted what I do in this group here, because I went and I've invested in Dan Martell, I've invested in Dane Walker, I invested in Alex Catoni, and I realized if I keep giving this stuff out to everybody, it dilutes the value of it. And I'm just like, look, I'm going to invest in all of that. I'm going to go and build my own personal brand myself, because I know that the higher I take that, this event on the weekend, I go do it at a level that we can achieve right now, go do an event later on in the start of the year, and then keep running this shit. The more I do it, the more I raise, the more impact that has for you guys. You guys get to come up a different standard. You guys get, greater wealth and all of that sort of stuff. And then the results just speak for itself. So I'm like, just go be world-class. I get better clients. The person with the best clients always wins. And so that's why I know for me, the more I invest in myself, everybody fucking benefits from it. It's also one thing is and I've had many conversations recently with Jesse, is like, not everyone's ready to step forward to that. So you got to be okay with leaving people behind, which is absolutely fine as well. So that part there. And in terms of necessity, and I love something that Nick has been sending me a lot recently. And, Nick has been trying to find, I guess, a bit more urgency and necessity. And he's starting to find that what he's building now is for his future family, the family that doesn't exist right yet, but it's something that he's working towards. And that's his external thing. He's like, okay, I'm building this for them, and he's building it for his future son so that he can say, hey, look, this is what I did, which is very cool. Carl, I believe you had a question.
Yeah, the question, as you were just saying, you and Jesse had to talk about, sometimes it's not for everyone. Is there a system or a tool that you both have come up with to clearly articulate that? Because, we're doing Facebook ads, we're doing marketing, we're being more classy. We're going to attract those people that may have the delusion that they can do it. Example, I could say, I'm really good at handstands because I used to be a gymnast for 15 years, right? But in the same breath, Jesse has the world record, so Carl, shut the fuck up. But he would do it with grace, not as arrogance, but just like, well, look, man, I'd invite you to. And if I continue to have the ego, he goes, well, I can't make that change until you're ready, right, to invite. So are there tools or systems or questions you guys have come up through your conversations that we could use to filter through this so we're not giving too much of our time to the wrong person?
For sure. Jesse, potentially if you want to answer that, and then I can add a little bit.
Okay. I was hoping you'd go first, but that's okay. I think I haven't got a single person that's not ready for it since I got clear on who I help. So I used to get a heap of that, and now I probably still have got a few in the DMs at the moment, but like I'm so clear on who I help and what I do that it's like if someone's just like, I want to lose fat but don't go to the gym, I'm like, it's probably not going to be a good fit. And I know that there's going to be people that can help them more than I can. But when they come and step into the world where like, I want to do pull-ups, I want to do handstand push-ups, I want to do all this, I'm like, oh, I'm your dude. So getting clear on my messaging and focusing, that's how my ad's blowing up at the moment. It's the first ad that I've actually spoken to a certain type of person that wants these things. And then it's like, oh, well, I've got this, let's do it. So that's probably the answer to that for me, bro.
Does that answer the question, Carl?
Yeah. Just having
I think, yeah.
Come on, you're a record holder, brother. Come on, there's got to be something. No. So if I was to probably translate for my own understanding, and Jesse, please correct and add, is that it's really just comes down to if we're still seeing a gap in the people we have, there's not enough clarity in the mission and statement that, as Jesse just said, is, I am putting out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'll put that out. Second record holder handstands. I think I lost out 2 reps.
It's the old saying, like if you're speaking to everyone, you're speaking to no one, and I think in terms of that, and it's just one of those things. It's like we often, I think, in marketing get scared to, narrow it down like that because we're scared we'll push people away. But often, pushing 99% of people away, the 1% that come along are going to be the ones that absolutely love you. A really good book or a really good thing is like the 100 True Fans. It used to be the 1,000 True Fans, but the 100 True Fans is probably closer now. Yeah, and I was sort of saying the other day, it's actually like Jesse's values, because Jesse doesn't have the biggest amount of followers. He doesn't have the biggest amount of like real reach and all of that sort of stuff. But people buy into his values, and they reach out to him. Like I know a lot of guys have reached out to you recently, Jesse, in regards to just like, bro, I need to fucking sort my shit out, that sort of thing. And it's like, it's just that conviction. He sets his standards. He shows up as it. If you watch Dan Martell and you look for these little things, what you'll find is that that's all he does. Shows up. Like I'm talking to Dane Walker today. I'm going to ask him, like, how did it feel standing beside Dan Martell, knowing he's fucking jacked as fuck, making 10 times as much money, and he's in 10 times better shape. Sometimes just seeing it is enough to believe it. So, next part, let's go. So, cool. The alchemy of world class. So there is 4 ingredients to world class. Number 1 is you got to define. So we've defined it. Okay. The next one is mentor and environment. Who are 3 people? And this is interesting saying this out loud because I think Jesse just followed this fucking recipe. Who are 3 people? And it's a recipe I've followed over and over again. Who are 3 people you would consider world class at this? Okay, so in terms of the mentor environment, who are 3 people you would consider world class at this? What resources do you need to unlock to become world class? Who do you need to surround yourself with to level up your standards? And that's where I knew I'd made a mistake when I realized, like I did that workout with Ezra, or Ezra ran me through that. I was like, that was my mistake. I should have been around this guy every fucking day because we would have got the job done. So who are 3 people you would consider world class at whatever you want to be world class at? Okay. So for Shana Lee, relatively simple. Who's the current Miss Olympia? Who's her coach? Then, who are the best posing coaches that you can get around? Who are the best, nutrition coaches? Who does this stuff the best? Who are the 3 people who you would consider world class at? and it's been something that, like, you know, I wanted to be a high performance coach, or basically a life coach, and understand how to get the best out of people. Brendan Bouchard, rated number 1. You know, now I'm listening to Ed Milet. He's rated like number 2, and then Dan Martell works with Ed Milet. You know, and then when I found out that Dane Walker, his mentor is Chris Stowe, I was like, fuck's sake, like, they're all my favorite people. And it's just like this web of people that have, you know, downloading what the universe has downloaded into them. And now we can take that and become better. What resources do you need to unlock to become world class? Okay. And so resources are information, maybe it's finances. You know, something Dane said to me is like, how are you going to fund this brand? And I didn't really understand what he said, because at the moment, like, Jess and I have 2 staff, make plenty of money, all of that sort of thing is like, but really, like, we have no overheads. It's fucking wild, you know? And it's like, but in reality, like, big brands, they have staff, they have teams. So it's like, what staff do you need? What resources? Like, if you're going to grow something big, do you need a new coach? This sort of stuff. What resources do you need to unlock to become world-class at whatever it is? Might be just, you know, an Omni contraction course. Might be, you know, how to grow your glutes course. Might be just like how to actually influence people. Maybe you need to read more books, 10 books in the next year on sales and marketing. Who do you need to surround yourself with to level up your standards? Okay. It's like me just investing in Dane, that $60,000. I was like, okay, well, fuck, we better take this even more seriously now. You know, it's like, let's do this properly, because there's a lot of fucking money. So, and the crazy thing is, Dan Martell spends $350,000 a year on Ed Milet for a 45-minute call once a month. Okay. It's about $35,000 a call, I believe. That's US as well. And he pays it up front, you know, for a 45-minute call once a month. You know, it's crazy when you sort of think about that. But like, when you level up those sort of levels, it's like, you know, I'm sure it's 100% worth it. So that there, I want you guys just to write on that. And then the 5 learnings. What 5 skills do you need to master to be able to unlock world class? Cool. What 5 skills do you need to be able to master to unlock world class? For me, I know it's events, it's content, short form and long form, and a little bit of lead generation, a little bit of ads. That's about it for me in regards to what we want to do in the next 12 months. And then, actually, no, I lie. The one thing I keep avoiding, leadership and teams. So that's the 5 things. And it probably all just comes back to leadership and communication, to be honest. That's what 5 skills do you need to master to be able to unlock world class in this? Cool. What so 5 skills?
Dylan, for you was leadership, teams, what the other 3?
Yep. Short and long form content, events. So how to make, like, my standard for events is like, if someone's coming to me for 30 minutes, half an hour, how can I make them think about this for the rest of their life? You know, how can, like, I went to an event with Keegan Smith 8 years ago that I still talk about almost on a weekly basis because it had that much impact on me. And so that's always been my standard for events, is like, how can I get people to have that same level of, you know, like, holy shit, this changed my life. Yep. Cool. Then there's the law of 20. Yeah, exactly, Codes. We went to the same event. It was fucking wild, you know. Cool. Then there's the law of 20. 20 hours of deep learning. Okay, and so Dan Martell defines learning as like, you listen, read, consume. Then you underline it, you take notes, you highlight. So you actually learn this stuff. So you highlight it, you take down dot points, you take notes. As you're going through a book, you should be drawing on it, writing on it, rewording it to your own language. Like, you should, what Carl did before is like, I'm going to translate this into my language. You should be doing with books, education, courses, mentorships, that sort of thing. And then it's like, then you need to teach it. Okay. The faster you teach something, and you guys have a platform here, if you want to teach some of the skills that you're learning, 100% reach out to me and say, this is what I want to teach. and I'll let you do it as practice. You can do it every week if you want. And it's like, the more you teach it, whether it's through your short form content, I believe this is where people misunderstand content, is like, that should be almost your obligation, is to teach through your social media, teach, share your education, share your knowledge, because that's your gift and it's what you can share with the world. So the law of 20 is 20 hours of deep learning, teaching, and absorbing of that actual topic. And that will generally set you apart from most things. And then the final piece to this, and the 4 ingredients of the alchemy of world class, is proof. What are 20 pieces of proof you will collect to be considered world class? Okay, so Shana Lee might be like, I'm going to get 20 first place or placed, bikini athletes. Ollie's could be, I'm going to have 20, world class knee transformations, which he's already got, to be honest. So, what are you going to do? Okay, for your podcast, it might be like, you're the top 10 podcasts in New Zealand within the next 12 months. Cool. There are ways to do that. 50 first muscle ups. Yeah, perfect. What are the 20 pieces of proof you're going to collect? This part. Jesse, how much fun did you have training for this world record?
Enough that on the day I was nearly just fighting back tears because I was having so much fun that I just enjoyed the process so much. Yeah, I loved every second of it.
Yeah. Has anyone found that like achieving your goals is fucking hard sometimes? It's a bit of a fucking grind, isn't it? Yeah. And it's often like the breakthroughs take a while. So having fun along the way is something that is so fucking important. Yeah. It's so important. Like having fun with it, and it's really, really cool. And this is why, like, I actually had a really good chat with my mate this morning, and it was like the 4 ways you can basically earn money. And the first one is like laboring. So earning money with your hands. Generally it'll top out about, 80 to 100K, somewhere around there is generally any laboring job. That's roughly where it's going to top out. Then you have tertiary type jobs. So like doctors, lawyers, that sort of stuff. It can go a little bit higher, but generally you're looking at about 250K a year. Okay. The next stage is communication. Okay. And so communicators are paid anywhere between 250 to 10 million a year. That's generally where it caps out. And so these are coaches, mentors, course creators, anything like that requires people to communicate. So speakers on stages, that sort of stuff. Then the final piece is imagination. Okay. This is athletes, entertainers, and it's basically unlimited. And that's why athletes get so much, is because they have the imagination to create shit that normal people can't do. When they're on the field, it's like there's no gap in the field, but all of a sudden they're through it. They have this imagination, this creativity to be able to make the impossible seem possible. And then you look at guys like Elon Musk, who's like, oh, we'll just go and build, a tunnel under the ground and it'll make people go on magnets and shit like that, or we'll take people to Mars. It's the highest paid skill in the world. And when you look at AI, it's AI and robotics. Robotics probably going to get rid of most laboring jobs. They're probably gone. AI is probably going to get rid of most of, your tertiary type jobs. Cool. Communication, human connection, that sort of stuff. Potentially AI can definitely do that. AI the other day was talking to Jess and basically chatting her up. I was like, this fucking thing's going to get thrown outside soon. And it was funny. I was like, this thing's chatting up my missus. It was really uncomfortable. But then also imagination. What if AI frees us up to do anything we want and you got to sit down and create all day? What would you create? Okay. That's probably the potential that's coming, or complete human destruction. And this is why I have fun with it. Okay. So fun is extremely important. Cool. And then this right here. Now that you know the path, now what is stopping you? And I've touched on this subject a lot, and there is one thing that stalls all progress, and it's fear. Jesse, if you don't mind, man, because I think out of everyone, you and I have probably worked on this the most together. How often do you not know that a fear is holding you back? And how often have once you realize that you're like, okay.
Like it's one of the things that go through my head the most now of like me, like I have like battles in my head of like what's controlling me right now. Like, is that fear or is like, do I just not want to do something? And it's so it's constantly going through, and like all like the big breakthroughs, it's always been like, I was just scared of something here. And then like we're already talking about what the next one is, and then I'm like, oh, what is it? What's controlling me? So it is wild. It's the biggest breakthroughs for sure.
Yep. It's that little devil at every level way, and they never really stop. They always come up, and you know, I know what my little devil is at the moment, and it's because of, you know, just certain things that have conditioned me to be afraid of certain things, you know. And so when we look at that conditioning or that fear response, 2-year-olds and won't sleep. It's actually not that. It's that I've had at one point, I had 16 staff, you know, I've had coaches, I've had, you know, lots of stuff in terms of building teams and that. And unfortunately just wasn't up to the task. So that's my stop. And the fear of failure is a big one, Lee. So what I said to my friend this morning, I was like, you know, Michael Jordan, he failed 14 out of 20 years. He won 6 championships, considered the best basketball player of all time. He failed more than anyone. That's why he's the best. Okay. And so when we look at this, there's 3 fears that will generally weigh up. There's the fear of loss. So this is fear of respect. Yep, judgment, letting people down, 100%, loss of respect. You know, what are people going to think of me? Are they going to think I'm taking their money? Are they going to think I'm full of shit? Are they going to think I don't know what I'm talking about? You know, and especially if you have comparison to others where, like, you know, maybe wherever you've learned your education, maybe you can't articulate it as well as they can. And you're like, oh, if I say that, you know, I'm not as good as them, so therefore I'm going to look stupid. You know, I haven't changed. So now I want you to think about and write this down. I haven't changed or chased my dreams with more courage and commitment because I'm afraid I might lose X, Y, Z. What are you afraid you might lose? For me, recently, and I've only just got over this, I feel like I'm going to lose a lot of my friends because, you know, I've helped people and given them stuff, and, you know, because I just want to help people. That's at the fucking core of who I am, is I want to help people. And I'm like, well, if I stop helping them, they may not be able to fucking survive. But it's and then I feel like I may lose friends because of that. You know, I'll lose people along the journey because you're in a completely different place. So that was really interesting. So you haven't changed or chased your dreams with more courage and commitment because you're afraid you might lose what? What do you lose if you fail, Lee?
It's sort of what Ezra was talking about, to be honest. Like that sort of fear of, I mean, anything that's ever been worthwhile, it's always been stepping out of my comfort zone. And like what Jesse was saying, like it's been the most powerful times in my whole life, but there's still that inherent thing. It's like this fucking gravitational pull that pulls me back into it's not so much the failure. I think it's the fact that I know I'm destined for more, but if I can't fucking do it up to the standard, and it might be unrealistic that I failed, you know what I mean? I don't think it's the actual failing itself. It's that bit of sort of like that self-respect. Like I think what Ezra was saying as well. That's what that big roadblock is, or that big bottleneck. Yeah.
What do you mean by self-respect?
Oh, maybe it's hard to articulate, to be honest. Okay, here we go. So it's like a judgment that I have upon myself, I guess. That the way, it's not judgment from, like, I don't give a fuck what anyone says. Like, I don't care about judgment from other people. It's the judgment that I view myself. It's like, I think that anything that I've ever done is sort of like to prove to myself. I want to really fucking like dumb it down. Prove to myself that I'm not a loser, essentially. And I know that, like with whatever I've done the last 15, 20 years is I'm not. So it's that stepping into the unknown, that uncertain sort of, you know, uncomfortable situation, that fear of that personal, that judgment, or that I've sort of, or that standard I've sort of set for myself subconsciously, if that makes sense.
No, it does.
Yeah.
Have you ever accepted that you're not a loser?
Yeah, but I tell you, it's taken it's the times mostly when I've done things like Jesse said, like out of his comfort zone, or when I've done things out of my comfort zone, where that's the reinforcement. So how do you get over that? Do more shit like that, right? You know what I mean? Yeah, essentially.
As fitness coaches, what do we often encourage?
Yeah, fear of losing. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Getting out of your comfort zone, eh?
Yeah.
That's where growth happens, eh? And it's like anytime we're in that comfort zone, we are essentially comfortable, you know. And it's one of those things where if we stay there, cool, we'll just stay exactly where we are. But to grow, we have to be uncomfortable, and it's scary as fuck. Yeah. And it's one thing you've got to do, man. I won't say you've got to do, is like one thing that is potentially worth exploring is that, like, you're going to have to open yourself up to losing, because it's very potential risk and chance, you know. And that's why when you look at it, and I haven't gone deep into this, but that's why we've got this thing of like not stepping outside the tribe. Because if you step outside the tribe, you know, there's hyenas, there's tigers, there's lions, you're on your own essentially. And so anytime you step outside of that comfort zone, you're at risk. There's the potential thing that you may die, you know. And this is ingrained in like humans. It's a safety mechanism. And that's why, especially in places like Australia, as soon as you stand out, go outside of that comfort zone, cool, bang, you get chopped down. Cool. And it's a safety mechanism, because it keeps people safe, it keeps them in here. But you listen to the Americans that come to Australia and even places like New Zealand, the ratings that they have for these places, like, these are the best fucking places in the world. And people think we've got it shit here, you know. And so it's because we are keeping us in this little bubble on bracket, because no one wants to stand out, because you get chopped down. So I believe it's like, that's why it's probably so fucking easy to succeed here, is because no one actually tries, because they're scared they'll get cut down, you know. So definitely worth looking into. I'll keep rolling on for this presentation. So the next part is like the fear of hardship. Okay. And this is a big one as well, is like, do you have a fear that you'll be overwhelmed? I know a lot of people do. Do you have a fear that this will be hard? It'll be stressful. You can't handle the challenge. You're not up for it. You can't, you know, the challenge is too much. You can't overcome this. You don't have the stamina, you know. You're scared that, you know, you'll be overwhelmed with all the information before you even start. So I want you guys to think about, once again, and journal. Is there something I haven't changed or chased with more courage and commitment, because I'm afraid the process might bring on some of these hardships in my life? Okay. And often it's like those discomforts, you know. What is it? Is there something? Too much stress? Will you be overwhelmed? Is setting up a podcast too hard and you fuck it up? Ollie, you jumped on a plane this morning and flew to Sydney, bro.
That is true. I did.
Best place on the planet.
It is.
What made you do that?
Very good. What did you ask?
You jumped on a plane and flew to Sydney today. What made you do that?
Because I am the best in the world. I don't know if you heard that. I'm the best in the world at fixing these, and more people need to know it, because it's very simple, and it would be a disservice to the world. It would be a disservice to Sydney if I didn't jump on that plane.
Cool. Yeah, and like, bro, unknown. Obviously, you've done it twice this year, where you've flown, like, left your job in New Zealand, flown to Australia. Just knowing it'd be hard, bro. What made you sort of get on the plane and do it?
To be honest, bro, I watched my dad die when I was, well, he died and was brought back to life. He had a cardiac arrest when I was 16, and my mom was resuscitating him for 8 minutes, 11 seconds. And fuck, after that, why would I do anything other than exactly what I want to do? Because we don't have many seconds. So why the fuck are we spending them on stupid stuff just because we're scared? And I talked to you because I was trying to impress a girl, and then you actually managed to make the conversation way deeper than that and talked about what my goals were at the time and how I wasn't in alignment with them, and bought a plane ticket to say, okay, well, I just have to live in alignment with my goals. And I left the country on July 17th, and my flight was at 1 p.m. At 12:30, I made a phone call that meant I had enough money to pay rent when I landed. And I was in the airport when I found out that I could afford to move. But I knew fucking that I wanted to, so I did it. Before I knew that it would work.
Bro, that's fucking wild. Yeah, king hard. Yeah, bro. Just a side note. Like, we've been talking this week about influence and tailoring the package. Like, you signed up for deadlifts. You didn't know you were signing up for this. So their idea, guys, is like, and that's our job, is to uncover and unpack these guys' dreams, or our clients' dreams, and make them believe in something that's possible. And Ollie just doing that, man. And I want to say, like, you guys, man, like, fuck, if I was you guys, like, when I was your age, like, I don't know where I'd be now. I sort of see the trajectory of, like, literally, it's taken me 20 years, I guess, to get to here, but it didn't really start until, later. So, like, where you guys are now is, like, I don't think envy is the right word, but it's amazing to think where you guys would be just because of you guys backing yourself, which is cool. So, amazing, bro. I'll keep rolling on. The final piece of this is disappointment, okay? And this is a big one, okay? The grass is greener, okay? What if you do get rich? What if you do become fucking shredded and all of this sort of stuff? What if you do become the best in the world, or, become world-class at whatever it is? What if you do achieve that world-class status? And an example of this is when someone loses 50, 60 kilos and no one loves them, so they go back to being fat. It's a very real thing, because they got more attention when they were bigger. People gave them more attention because, like, oh, you're fat, they feel sorry for you, that sort of thing. They get skinny or whatever, they don't get any more attention than when they were bigger, so they go back to it. That's why this loop happens. So what is something you haven't changed or chased harder with more courage and commitment because you're scared that despite all your effort, the outcome might not be as good and you might end up going nowhere? Why haven't you changed harder because you're scared that the outcome might not be any better? If I go hard and it doesn't work, I'm a failure. But I don't think this is your fear anymore. Yeah, 100%. Failure is just it's like data to improve. Sometimes you realize, like, along that journey, that the goal doesn't actually mean as much to you as you thought. But following through that process is something that's very, very powerful, because it's not generally like the outcome at the end. It's generally who you become along the way, and so I believe this is close to the final little piece of this presentation, is like the courage to be world class. When I get out of my own way, and I want you to write this down, when I get out of my own way, when I overcome all my fears and have the courage to take action, what will my life, skill, and circle look like 12 months from now? When I get out of my own way, when I overcome all my fears and have the courage to take action, what will my life, skill, and circle look like 12 months from now? This is a really bad example. Who here right now is in prison? Cool. Who may be potentially creating their own prison or putting up your own four walls? Because who's stopping you from this? Who's holding you back? I'm going to do before we start our state shifter event tomorrow, I'm going to tell the story about an elephant. So circus elephants, when they're basically brought into the circus, they get this chain put on them. And because they're a little elephant, they can't move the chain. The little elephant, it struggles, it tries really, really hard, but it can't move the chain. And at some point, it realizes, like, no matter how hard I tried, this thing doesn't move. Now, the elephant keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And then, but the chain stays the same. And so anytime the circus goes and puts that chain on, what does the elephant think? Can't walk away. Cool. The elephant could easily pick that thing up and walk away. This is just an example of conditioning. We've all been conditioned to believe that we have these chains, these things holding us back, when all we have to do is just get up and walk away. We just have to get up and walk away. It's not that simple, but it is that simple, but it's not always easy. And that's what I want you to sort of think about when you've just written this down, is like those four walls you've put up. What happens when you break them down? What happens when you get out of your own way? What does life look like? You know, and that literally is the thing that's holding you back from whatever it is you want to have. And so the final piece here is a commitment. Cool. And I'd love for you all to, write this down and then tag me on Instagram, on social media, tag all of us actually, so that, we can all share it. Is like a commitment. A person of action develops a sure sense of who he or she is, and is also more likely to be bold and resilient in tackling life's major challenges. Commit to today to taking massive action and letting people know what's coming. Cool. What are you going to commit to in terms of taking action towards whatever it is you want to be world class in? Okay. What is the massive, bold action that you're going to take in the next 60 days? And what are you committing to? Cool. Write that down. And then I want you to put it on your social media. Use a nice photo. Use something that means something to you. Maybe a picture that represents your why. Cool. And then what is the commitment you're going to make to becoming world class? Okay. Tag Dylan Limitless, whoever you want, 10.0, tag everyone on this call. But that commitment has to be made public. Okay. Because when you make it public, you now realize people are holding you to a standard. It's no longer hidden. It's no longer you holding yourself back. You've put it out there. So now you got to make it happen. Cool. And the reasons you won't is because of one of those three fears we talked about. People might think, oh, who's this wanker to go and say he's going to do this? I put up on my stories today, and this is a real challenge for me. Like I'm pretty white, but I'm also of Māori heritage and Māori blood. When I grew up, I wasn't brown enough to be a Māori, but I wasn't white enough to be a white guy, so I never really fit in. And so it was sort of something interesting to me because, I never felt like I could truly be Māori and really embrace that culture. But then I always felt like I could never truly be a white guy as well. So me putting up on my stories today is like, I put me practicing Maoridako, which is a Māori martial art. And the things that come to me is like, all the Māoris be like, oh, who's this white guy practicing this? And then all the white guys be like, who's this guy doing this, And so that's my fear, but I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to get good at this because I want to teach my kids. I want to make sure they have culture, and I want to make sure, I'm doing a spiritual practice for myself so that, I've got something that's good for me. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's environment, bro. Yeah. It's environment. 100%. Yeah.
Bro,
They
literally connected me to a canoe and waka that has come from Samoa. And they said, any DNA test you have in those islands, you're going to find Māori, bro. So you are us. So,
Yeah. Bitcher makes you feel like you're at home though, eh, bro? Yeah. So that's mad. That's very, very cool. And so, like, the crazy thing is, and maybe this is actually me, like, working through what's holding me back is, like, 7 generations ago, my fucking great granddad signed the Treaty of Waitangi, which is like, fucking the thing that, like, basically, handed over New Zealand to the Europeans. But he didn't on that, he made sure that the islands that he was living on and our whānau was on they were not part of that deal. They've been sovereign for 200 years, and I've always sort of felt like, I should be back there and doing this stuff. And now I realize, like, okay, fuck, I actually can. And part of that for me is this fear of, like, oh, I'm not Māori enough. Who am I to go to this tribe? And so I'm like, okay, fuck it. I actually am. That's my blood. This is what it is. And I have a much bigger purpose, to go and do this. And so it's just a matter now of putting it out there and fucking any arrows that come, fuck it. Shoot them. I'll fucking get yous anyway. So, and it's sometimes that little bit of ego can be helpful. And that's probably me just protecting myself. But it is powerful to put it out there because those fears are all there. Let me just check. So this last little quote. Cool. Honor may not win power, but it wins respect. It wins respect, and respect earns power. Today is a victory over yourself of yesterday. Tomorrow is your victory over lesser men. Miyamoto Musashi. Okay, so honor may not win power, but it wins respect, and respect earns power. And so that's why that thing about respecting the goal. And it's one of those funny things, especially in the social media world. I think a lot what hold us back is we know that a lot of it's bullshit. We know a lot of it's fake. And it's like we want to keep our integrity. But it's like, why not just learn to share with integrity and honor, because it does eventually win. You look at guys like Dan Martell, and there are a lot of people now that there are examples of people doing it well. And that last little bit there, today is a victory over yourself of yesterday. Okay. And I said to my mate this morning, I was like, she said the snatch was impossible. I was like, yesterday it was, because he set the world record today. What you think is impossible yesterday may be possible tomorrow. It just really comes from your level of commitment to making it happen. Cool.